The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. Welcome to this morning's webinar on the TIMS system. This is Victoria Beal with the Ohio LTAP Center, and I have with us your instructor for the morning, Katie Robertson, and she is going to do a fantastic job for you. Before I turn things over to Katie, though, just a couple quick housekeeping items. We are attempting to record the webinar, and if the recording is successful, we will publish the video on our YouTube site and send that link out afterwards. During this morning's webinar, if you have questions at any point in time, we encourage you to put those in the question box, and Katie will be stopping periodically to ask for questions, and I'll be reading those off to her. Also, if we get a large number that pile up in there, I might just wait for her to take a breath and interrupt too, so we don't get too far removed from the item that, raised your question. So with that, that's all I have this morning. I'm going to turn things over. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Thanks.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Victoria, and welcome to another session of the TIMS training webinars hosted through LTAP. As Victoria said, my name is Katie Robertson, and I work in ODOT's Office of Technical Services, and you can think of that as our GIS office, Geographic Information System. So we manage a lot of geographic data, bringing it in from different offices around ODOT. And one of our main projects is TIMS, the website, the web mapping portal, where you can discover information about Ohio's transportation system, create maps, and share information. And I'm reading that right off of the homepage of our TIMS site, which you should be seeing. The entire goal behind the TIMS project is to bring together all this data and get it out to our ODOT staff and public and private agencies so that you have access to better data and can make better informed decisions. And we try to keep the site user-friendly. I think today we won't get into too much of the technical stuff behind it. We're just going to walk through the website together. So at any point, if you have a question or you missed something that I clicked on, definitely drop that into the chat pod and I can go back over it or expand on something. And you can follow along if you've got another screen handy. You can have TIMS up. And so we'll start with how do you get to TIMS? You can see on the screen now the URL gis.dot.state.oh.us/TIMS. If you type all that in once, you can save it in your browser, save a bookmark in your browser. Or if you wanted to go, if you remember our ODOT homepage, and I'm going to click this link to it now, so I should just show you quickly. Visuals help us remember, right? So transportation.ohio.gov, and you want to find TIMS in the search box at the top. Just type in TIMS. Oh, there we go. And it'll be the first response. We have a landing page, and you can launch from there. If you're an ODOT employee and you frequently go to the intranet page, the portal page, then you probably already know that there's a link, circling it here with my mouse. So right at the top of the portal page is an easy link to TIMS. And if you forget all of those, you can always just search from any browser. Just search ODOT TIMS, and it should be the first thing that comes up. Apparently, they had to do a lot of work to get that to be the first result when you search in a browser. So take advantage of that. So once you get to TIMS, you're going to land on this homepage, and we'll do a quick overview here just so you can feel comfortable moving around this page, and to give everyone a chance also if you're going to pull up the site and follow along. So in our title bar, TIMS itself, the TIMS logo itself will link you back to this homepage. So this link will be there if you dive into any of these pages within the application and just want to start over and get back to the home page, that link will be there for you. And you may have already seen I clicked the ODOT Zephyr symbol, and that got me to transportation.ohio.gov. Down at the bottom in the footer, there are a couple of links worth noting here. In our contact page, you will have this email address, and any emails to this address go to myself and 2 other colleagues, and someone will get back to you right away. I think we usually can reply definitely within the same day. And you're welcome to email us with any data requests, or if you experience a technical difficulty in the site, definitely report that to us. We want to know right away. If you're having trouble finding something that you think should be in TIMS, or as I said, if you would like to see something in TIMS, a new data set or a new feature, you're welcome to send that to us through this email address. And if you click the help link in the footer, you will open a user guide, a PDF user guide that you can go through. Maybe if you attend the webinar today, come back a week later and you've forgotten a couple of the features, this is a good place to start. It's a PDF, so you could search it or you can navigate through. And just looking at this PDF now, you can see how it's divided into sections for each of the pages that we saw on the home page. And that's how we're going to structure today's webinar. We'll kind of step through each of those pages. Get back to my home page. Okay, so those pages, let's just list them off. We've got our project search tool, and you'll see as I hover over them, you'll get a description pop up. So this is where you can search for transportation project information. All of our projects that are managed, I believe, by Office of Contracts, and there's a lot of different systems that go into managing all that data. So we've got a specific page to help you navigate that. The Create a Map page, this is our main mapping page. This is the GIS portion of all of this. And this is where you can view and search ODOT transportation data and create custom maps. We'll spend most of our time in the Create a Map page today. The data download page, you can download complete data sets in a couple of different formats. You can get Excel, KML if you use Google Earth, shapefiles, and file geodatabases if you are a GIS user and use something like ArcMap. Our standard PDF maps, you can generate a PDF map with specific layouts and formats. This is where we have offices that have a need to generate a specific map template on a regular basis, just with showing the updated data. So we give them links to do that quickly on this page. And our map viewers are, they work the same, they have all the same features as our main Create a Map, but they are customized. Maybe only a handful of layers are available, or the symbology is tweaked for a specific audience. So we'll try to highlight a few of those if we have time. Our data glossary, if you've heard the term metadata, this is where we've got the data about our data. So you can see a list of all of the layers that we publish and all of the fields in the attribute tables for all of those layers. And you can see when that was last updated. So we'll definitely reference that a couple times. And this final page, the crash data search, our GCAT tool, is built on the same platform as TIMS, and we host separate training webinars just for this GCAT page, so you can always work with LTAP to attend one of those if you're interested in navigating the crash data. Okay, and you'll see that we have the shortcut search by PID project ID. So that is a quick link. If you have your project ID number and you want to pull up information for that project, you can just type that in from here or from the title bar, which is available throughout the website, no matter what page you're on. And we'll show an example of that once we start talking about the project search page. But I think I want to get started today with the Create a Map page. So I'm going to click this link and we'll load the Create a Map page. And it's always going to open zoomed out with Ohio centered. And the map we're viewing is a base map. You can't really interact with it. It will update the labels as you zoom in and out. And you can zoom in and out with your mouse or with these buttons, or if you're working with a touchscreen on a tablet or a phone, then it will zoom in and out with the pinching motions. You can always get back to the full scale by clicking the home button. And you have a couple of options if you want to change the base map. So above this line, these are third-party base maps that we just consume. We don't have any ties to them, and we're not able to make any updates to them. We just consume them for a different look. And I do apologize, but my boss forgot that I am in a webinar and I don't want to ignore him. So over here on the side.
You take care of that, and I'm going to let folks know while you do that I have put some comments in the chat pod for them. One of them is that there is going to be GCAT training actually tomorrow. So if you aren't already registered for the GCAT training, I did put the link in there. That is taught by a different person who is from the ODOT Office of Safety. It's Caroline, and she does a fantastic job with it. So if you're interested in that GCAT training, I would encourage you to sign up for that. Also, if you have questions at all during today's webinar, go ahead and put those in the question box, and we'll make sure that those get read off to Katie. So, all right.
Yeah.
All set?
Caroline is great. Yeah, and I've attended one of her webinars, and she is really great. So I recommend that. And you know, we're just kind of talking at the screen here, so definitely interact if you want to just say hi or any questions at all. We love the interaction. So feel welcome to do that. Okay, so our base maps. Couple different options there that you can switch through. Below this line, we have our ODOT base map, which looks like the third-party street map, but we were able to fix a few errors or updates that needed to be made. So we do have our own base map that we can manage. And then we have OSIP base maps, Ohio Statewide Imagery Program. Through the Ohio Department of Administrative Services and the OGRIP office. They fly the state, I believe, on a 2-year cycle and take very detailed aerial imagery and compile all that together into a base map. So you can imagine that's a pretty large file. And so if you are zoomed all the way out and you try to view that base map, it's going to have trouble loading that. So that's something to keep in mind. And what we can do before I move on, just so that you can see it. And like I said, it's flown on a 2-year cycle. So maybe not all of the imagery came out with the best quality, or there was cloud cover or something, but you can flip through the two, or they have a layer that just picks the best available image for that area. And I'm not going to wait forever because we've got a lot to cover today. If that service is not wanting to respond quickly, but we'll try it again in a little bit. Since we're in this little toolbar, we'll go ahead and cover the other options. Print map. So this will just give you a very generic PDF of what you're viewing in the map pane right now. It won't have a title or description or anything like that, but if you just want to quickly print the layers that you have turned on and the area that you're zoomed into, it's a quick way to do that. And then share map with your friends. What this does is generates a URL. If you've zoomed to a certain area and turned on certain layers, and attempt to copy from the URL at the top, it's not going to save all that information. So if you copy and paste that link or send it to someone else, it's just going to open the main Create a Map page as a fresh page. So we have this tool that will allow you to do that. And it will remember, like I said, the extent that you're viewing in the map window and any layers that you have turned on. We haven't turned on any layers yet, so maybe we'll revisit that in a few minutes. So when you first open TIMS, we have this panel on the right side, and it will immediately open to the layers list. And then there's its own toolbar throughout the panel. So you can set your visible layers and find locations. I like to call these the zoom tools. You can zoom to different areas in the map, identify features. Then there are a list of tools to help you accomplish a few things in the map. And then some different ways to filter or search the layers that you have turned on. And finally, you can add data to the map. If you have your own shapefile or a spreadsheet of addresses or coordinates, you can geocode them and view them on the map along with all the other TIMS layers. So that's really useful. I always like to note that when you upload something through this tool into TIMS, it's just for that browser session. If you close your browser window and reopen, you would have to reload those. Also, if you add any information through this tool, it is only for your browser session, so you won't be able to share that with any other users through the share link or anything like that. So we have a lot of data. We bring together information that is managed across ODOT in quite a few different offices and through all the districts statewide. So we certainly can't look at every single one of these data sets, but we try to group them in a meaningful way to help you navigate and find what you're looking for. So assets, these are going to be features along the road that we need to inventory and maintain. And then boundaries, these are going to be your political boundaries, districts for utilities, and layers that provide a really good reference. Under environmental, of course, ODOT has to do a lot, consider a lot of environmental factors. So we've got a lot of any restrictions that might occur for our maintenance staff. We've got those available here and different reference information for environmental regions, noise measurements. And then projects, the heart and soul of everything we do here. So we have our full project data set, and you'll see that all of these layers have a point feature and a line feature, and we'll talk about why that is later. And then we just have some pre-queried filters. If you only want to see projects from the previous 4 or the next 4 fiscal years, we just had a fiscal year reset, so these were all just refreshed. And then you can view current projects that are happening on the roadway right now. Our roadway information. So our road inventory would be the main layer here. And then the other layers you see in this grouping are maybe just queried out of the road inventory, like our NHS or the HPMS segments, or it's information that's built on top of our road inventory information, like PCR, pavement condition readings, our traffic count, so you can view the stations where the counts are collected, and then the segments where they've applied that to the roadway lines. And then safety, we have a pared down version of all of the crash data that you can view and analyze through GCAT. And it's such a large data set that we only view the previous 3 years, and we have them divided into 3 layers. Of course, last year was a year like no other, so we do not have 2020 in as of yet, but I will follow up with them and see what we plan to do to publish those. Okay, so before we start turning some of these layers on and diving into the attributes, let's look at the ways that we can find or zoom to areas within the map. So our find location tools. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. So find area, this is just picking one of those reference polygons, a county, an MPO district, an ODOT district. So, we have 6 districts. We'll zoom automatically. Or a county. And with a lot of our tools, you'll get this drop-down list. And it's good to note that you can type to filter. And you'll see that it zooms there as soon as I pick that in the list, and I can clear that graphic from the screen. Find log point uses the LRS, the linear referencing system, and it's the way that we manage locations along all of the roadways. So we have a tool that makes it pretty easy to navigate here. You can pick your county, and then it will generate a table of all those routes within that county. And then it gives you a tip at the bottom, the valid log point. So if we start measuring this roadway when it enters Franklin County at 0, and then we follow it towards the north and east, I believe it always starts at the south and west, like Cincinnati, and incrementally increases as you go north and east. So we type in 15. It will give us the roadway information, our NLF ID. This is the unique ID that we give to all of our roadways, and that county logs where it resets at every county. And you can see that it generated a result in this table below. So take note of that, and we'll talk more about that. I'm going to clear it for now. Also in this tool, you can use it as a reporting tool. So you can click anywhere along a roadway and it will tell you what the log point is. And even though I don't have any layers turned on, right, I'm just clicking on my base map, it knows the geometry of the roadways underneath. So there you can see that's State Route 315, and that is 0.630, so right at the beginning of that route. Similarly, our find latitude, you can, you know what, I'm trying to remember to click this clear button, so hopefully it clears that out. So if you have a coordinate, you can paste that in here and find that. And just as a tip, we have, the center of Columbus coordinates in there.
Quick question that came in. Someone would like to know if it's possible to have the legend shown on the map.
We get that request a lot. And so hopefully you'll be happy to hear that that's a big priority as we start planning for the next iteration of TIMS and enhancing this website into the next generation. We are at the beginning of that process. So just putting together our requirements. So I'm not able to give a timeline on when we might see an update like that, but because it is requested so much, it's definitely a high priority in the next generation of TIMS. So stay tuned, and hopefully that will make it better. And we'll look at our legend in a minute, maybe be able to find some ways that makes it a little easier to navigate for you. So stay tuned, and we'll get through just a couple more of these options, and we'll start turning on layers. Okay, so similarly, you can report a coordinate just by clicking. And our last one, address. You can zoom to an address or an intersection anywhere in the state. We'll zoom right to that area. Okay, so you've gotten to the area of interest in the map. Now you want to start viewing some of these layers. Some of the ideas we've tossed around is including the symbol information right here in the layer list. But right now, let's say let's turn on bridges. It's maybe our most popular data set. A lot of people need to access this data. So if we turn that on, we see a drawing in the map, but to view the symbol, we have to switch over to the Legend tab. Of course, with bridges, they're all symbolized the same. But we can see a few other things. Let's turn on ODOT facilities since we're right there by central office. And we'll see that the type of facility is going to have a different symbol. And again, you have to flip back and forth to view that legend. Another thing we've considered, if we're not able to include the symbols within the layer list, is maybe having it as a pane that can pop out, and you can move it around the screen or close it as you wish. Okay, so let's see. We've got our bridges and we want to see facilities happening alongside our bridge locations. We can see a lot of our transportation asset management, sometimes we refer to it as our collector program, has brought in a lot of data sets over the past few years. So we can view all of the signs and their support information. Now that we have a few layers turned on, again, we'll visit that legend so we can see the blue symbols are ground mounted signs and the green ones are going to be overhead. And now we're going to activate our Identify Features tool to view the attributes inside each of these symbols. So I'm going to click right here and you'll see that my selection box, it's covered quite a few features. I've got a bridge, I have a couple of sign supports. And so in our results layers, we'll be able to switch between those two layers. So we can take a look at bridge inventory. Of course, there are a lot of attributes, and unless you are really into that data, you might not know what all of those mean. And that's where our data glossary comes in hand. So that we stay in our, keep our place, I'm going to right click and open this data glossary in a new tab. And that's a good practice if you want to just step to the side and learn more about a data set. Our data glossary tab, of course, we think that we have so much information now, we've kind of outgrown the structure of this page. So we really are looking forward to some enhancements to how all this information is managed and presented to you as well. You can scroll through the list of data sets, or you can type to filter. Once you pick a data set, you can change the number of rows that you're viewing in one page and flip through that way. You can export all of the records to a CSV and keep that for reference on the side. You can search the field. So say I'm looking for the structure file number, so I can see what that field's going to be called. Or I'm looking for what types of rating information am I going to find. So that search tool comes in handy. Maybe looking for material information, so you can see it's searching not only the names or the column name of the field, but also if that text appears in the description of a field. And then you can get some information on when this data set was refreshed for all of the data sets. So the update cycle is we're going to every night or daily, so it runs at night, pull refresh information from the structures management system and pull this into TIMS. So just hovering over this question mark will give you a brief description of the data set inventory of bridges and the last time it was refreshed, which is today. Then if this middle icon is active, you can click it and link to a web page where hopefully you can get more information. So here is our landing page for the Office of Structural Engineering, and you can get some contact information, some different links that way. So it's good to know those are there. And if you ever need more information on, say, a field description, or you have any questions on if the data was refreshed, or if you would like it refreshed, more more often, then again, you're welcome to send those requests to us through that email address. Okay, so back to our create a map, we can switch and we can look into our sign support inventory. And like a lot of our other transportation asset management assets, you're going to find a lot more information in the table, some links to other systems. Our Path Web Viewer, you'll see a link to this, and this will allow you to view this location. You link directly to that location in our Path Web system. That's the first time I've opened that today, so we'll give that a second and keep scrolling. And at the bottom, you'll see we also have attachments for when these assets were inventoried or inspected in the field.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Someone would like to know, does TIMS have traffic data stored for any given location?
Yeah, let's take a look at the traffic data. Next, let's look at these two links that I've opened, and then we'll turn on traffic data. Okay, so this particular feature did not have any images attached, but here's our Path Web system. And it's its own great resource that we link to directly. Now, I'll come back to that in a minute. And did want to see an example of an attachment. I'm not sure why I opened that page, so. Let's go look at some traffic data. So under our roadway information, we can turn on all of our traffic count stations, and then the traffic count segments they process the counts gathered at those individual stations and they apply it to the roadways. So we've got both of those turned on, and we can use our identify tool. And as you can see, it's going to be all of the major roadways, all the state maintained roadways. It's not going to include local roadways, as you can see in this neighborhood here. So in our traffic count segments, we've got the counts divided, AADT, average annual daily traffic. So the year that it represents, the total, all vehicles, and then cars, trucks, it's divided out by the type of vehicle. And there's a link to traffic reports, yet another great system that's managed in ODOT that we try to make it easy to access through TIMS. So maybe your workload would be you need to get traffic information for a study area. You can come to TIMS, zoom to that location by entering an address or intersection, turning on your traffic layers. You can use your identify tool for some basic reference. Then you can use the link to the MS2 traffic data management system and get more information here. Of course, we have a team that's dedicated to our traffic data. If you haven't worked with them and you're not sure who to contact, guess what? You can email the TIMS email address and we'll forward you directly to that traffic team. Okay, if there's anything specifically that they'd like me to show, they can just drop that back in the chat window. I do want to, because I must be talking very slow today, it's 10:30. Since we're looking at our roadway information, let's go ahead and highlight a few other layers here. Our main road inventory layer. Just to see all the ways that we categorize our roadways. Again, our NLF ID, it's good to be familiar with that. The way that we give a unique ID to all of our roadways, it's state maintained, so that's S. Franklin County, it's an interstate route, and then a 5-character section for the route number, so it's filled with leading zeros. Space holders for if there's a directional qualifier, and then N stands for non-cardinal, means it's not going in that cardinal direction of southeast to north, or southwest to northeast. A lot of attributes are only going to be populated for the cardinal side of the roadway because it represents the main or primary section of that roadway. So again, almost every feature will give you when it was last updated at the very bottom of the table. And now let's look at our project information quickly and then make sure we have enough time to spend on the project search page. Okay, so let's turn off. Oh, you know, if you guys don't mind, I would like to just take one more sec because I do want you to be able to see how it will work if you have attachments. And in our newer features, we have made these a little smarter where the link only shows in the table if there is an attachment, but we're still working backwards to update that logic. So here's how it will look if you have an attachment. If the field crews took an image and attached it, you can access that directly through TIMS. So I think that's really valuable. I wanted to make sure you saw an example of that. Okay, let's turn some stuff off, get things simplified, and look at our project information. So I mentioned before, we have our projects as point features and line features, and that is due to the way that we map the locations. We talked about the log points, the NLF ID and a log point, and how we identify these roads, you know, by county and the measures. And it's a lot on one map. And so our projects are, the locations of our projects are noted by that NLF ID and log point. So if we have a range, a section of roadway, we have a beginning and an end log point, and we can map the full span of that project. You can see I have a lot stacked on top of each other. If we only have, if the project information only provides us with a starting log point, then we can only map it as a point. And usually these are going to be associated with structure work or bridge work. Of course, when we turn on all projects, we're viewing everything that's happened on that roadway that's been logged in our LS project system going all the way back to 2013, I believe. Of course, we do have a separate system for the archive project history. If we want to see what's happening currently, and this is going to take our construction dates and compare it to today's current date, and only projects that are currently in construction will view on the map. So that's always a really good reference. And then if you're into the project planning, you can filter them out by fiscal year or previous fiscal year, next for fiscal year. District work plan, I believe, is just a set of 6 years ahead, I believe. So let's use our identify tool and just get an idea of what we have in our project attributes. I don't think I noted before, but again, my selection box covered multiple features in the same layer, so I can tab through those. And in our table, we've got links to the contract information, so you'll see those there. And that is managed through digital paper. Okay, and we are still working on why it opens to this homepage. It should go directly to the contract, and we've found, or to the project, we found that if you just click it again, still trying to figure that out. And of course, I picked one that did not have. Oh, okay, because this is a current project, they probably have not finalized the documentation and put it into the system. So again, that's an opportunity for us to get smarter with our links that we present to you. I'm going to move on. If anyone else is really interested, I can find an example that will show you how that looks in our digital paper system. Let's
There's no
see.
more
Let's finish
comments
looking
right now,
through.
so
Awesome.
thanks.
Okay. So much information. It's a little tedious if you're trying to scroll through and look for something. And since this is the basis of everything that we do, we have a tool designed to help you navigate this project information just in tabular form. We've got some filters that help you dive down. And you'll see it took a minute to load the page. It's loading all of our project records. And our PID, which I mentioned at the very beginning, the project ID, that's going to be your unique key for all these projects. But you'll see that one PID can have multiple locations. So 4082, it's going to have construction on several different sections of roadways and maybe even several roadways. So we could sort through all 72,000 records. That would be insane. We can expand how many we're viewing on the page at one time, if you want to be able to scroll through that way. Or we can narrow down to our area of interest. So we've been looking at Columbus, District 6, Franklin County. And so you can see how it is narrowing down these projects as I pick the filters at the top. Say we are looking for bridge culvert maintenance. We did get quite a few. Okay, and you'll see that there's a couple of records that don't have a valid location. So we won't be able to show those on the map. You could probably still view the project information page, and you can link to that, the view details link for every single one of these records. Again, just to make sure it opens in a separate. So even though I won't be able to view it in the map since I don't have a valid roadway information, I can still view some of the attribute information. And this is an older and closed, but since there's no roadway information, I don't know that there would be project plans. So let's find something that's happening, something that did happen in the previous fiscal year. That's 2 fiscal years, Franklin County. We can clear this one. Okay, down to 197. Sorry, I'm not an expert in what we do out in the field, so it might seem a little clumsy as I'm trying to navigate to get some meaningful information, but we'll just go. We can expand and see if there are some examples of the other primary work categories. So some guardrail work, traffic control, safety information. Let's take a look at this one, 99789. So here we go. This is how it will look if you want to access project plans. And we'll download that and then you can view the PDF. Come back to that in just a sec. So say that we've restarted completely. Just so I don't forget, I'm going to copy that. Right, we've left, we've gone home, we've come back the next day. We want to continue looking into that project. That's where the search by PID shortcuts really come in handy. So we'll populate our project search page, applying that filter of the PID. My file is almost done. And you can see we have 2 locations, so we can select both of those. And from here, just you can see a quick reference of how the project plans display. So you get all the pages, all the engineering plans. It's another great way that TIMS links to all the other information that's managed by other offices throughout ODOT. Okay, so I've clicked to select both of these records, and from here I can view them in the map. So it will zoom to that location. Now that, you know, and yeah, now that I brought these into this page, you can see that it's created this results layer, and I can view those attributes. These are the same attributes as if I had used my identify tool, now just down here. So anytime you have anything populated in these results layers, you can always export just those features into any of those formats: Excel, KMZ, shapefile, geodatabase. This is why I always try to right click and view a new tab, but so it's also available here. Once you narrow down your results, you can export that data. And since we're talking about exporting, our data download page is where you can get the full data sets in any of those formats. So it's grouped together the same as it would be in the layers list on the map page. So you would just select the projects that you want and then pick your format. And these are all pre-packaged and living on a server behind the scenes, so they should download pretty quickly. And from there you can, it will download in zip files, and you can unzip and use them however you like. So with our projects that are updated daily, like projects, like bridges, just know that these are remade nightly. So if you want the most up-to-date data, you would have to come back and get them every day. But then our data sets that are published on an annual basis, like our road inventory, you can download those once and have them for the whole year. Okay, let's see how we are on time. We are getting a little low. So hopefully you guys are comfortable with navigating. Again, we have that search box, just like we had in the data glossary page, that will let me search any of this information. So I like to give the example of, say that we had a full list of data sets and we were just looking for a certain route, knowing that we use that those 5 characters with leading zeros, we could filter by a route. So that's very useful. And of course you can sort any of these fields just by clicking the header. Okay, so let's get back to our map page. Make sure that we at least get a quick view of some of the other functionality that we have in here. So in our tools menu, there are some basic tools for measuring. You can draw on the map, create a polygon and get the area of that polygon. You can report your state, plane, north or south coordinates. So it's a different type of coordinate system, and you can do that there. You can create a bookmark within TIMS. So like we generate that URL, it remembers what you're zoomed into, and I guess the bookmark would just be the location that you're zoomed to on the map, and it would be saved here until you refresh your browser settings. A link to ODOT PathWeb. We saw the PathWeb system direct links inside some of the, or I guess we're looking at the traffic table, but you can also just generally access that system for any location. So I picked it. It looked like nothing happened, but I've activated that tool. I have my crosshairs icon, and now it wants me to click anywhere in the map or on a roadway, I guess. There we go. And it's going to open that same PathWeb system, zoom to that location. Another great reference tool is Map Channel. Again, I clicked it. Nothing changes in our panel here, but I have my crosshairs icon. And so I can click on a roadway. I believe this one works by XY coordinates. You could click in the middle of a field. And just click that link to get past the header page. And they may have changed, so I need to look into this as well. or I bet I clicked the, there, view map, sorry. So this just is a conglomerate of different Google Map views, so you can view them on the same page. It has changed a lot since we released this version of TIMS, so it's something that we're going to be evaluating. Now that you have to have that header page or the front page and click the extra link, it's not as user-friendly as it used to be, but it's still a great resource to know about. Okay, and we'll spend our last few minutes trying to get comfortable with our filter tools. So our project search page, right? It's a page with those filter tools specific to our project database, but these filter tools from the Create a Map you can use with any of the layers that you have turned on. So first we'll need to turn a layer on, and let's do ODOT facilities. That's a smaller data set. It's easy for us to understand what it represents. So we'll be able to navigate through these filter tools quickly. So let's start with the filter by geography. I think this is the easiest. You can pick any of those boundary polygons. So your ODOT district, we could get all of the ODOT facilities that intersect a district. So now I have to pick which district, 6. And you can see it's going to select all of those facilities in that district polygon, and it populates my results table at the bottom. So from here, I can sort, filter, I can export these. I have that same search tool. I can type in any value and it will search all of the fields. And I could remove from my selection, zoom to individual features. Okay. Another way that we can search is by creating a graphic on the page. This one might be a little more complicated for some. I think maybe the easiest way, first of all, let's note, you'll see that it's my results from my last search. So because anytime we populate something into this results window, it's going to create this temporary layer. So just know that that happens. Once you refresh your browser session, those always go away. But just to be aware that that's what's happening. So I was doing graphic. So we'll need to repick our facilities. And I'm just going to draw a point and then create a circle from it. So I'm going to activate my tool by clicking the draw. Click anywhere in the map. Did it not like? I apologize. I don't know if it's just frustrated with all of my scrolling, which is very possible. So I'm going to look into this. You should be able to click around, draw a polygon, and then it would just give you that selection polygon, just like it showed when we selected a district, and it would select all of the features inside that polygon we have created. So I do apologize for that. I'm going to look into that after this session today. Our last one and our most powerful is to be able to search by all of those attributes. So I'm going to pick my layer, add a filter, and now I'm kind of building a query. So this is it's going to pull in all of the attributes that we have. So just for simplicity, I'll pick county, and I want to say everything where the county is a certain value. I could do everything that's not in Franklin County. So give me all the facilities except the ones that are in Franklin County. Give me 445 features. There we go. It's just taking a second. And we can narrow that down even more. So it's not in Franklin County, and it is an asset type. I guess I would need to look in the glossary to see what each of these stand for. So let's see. We did a facility name will make sense. It'll give us that list of all the facility names. Of course, not the most meaningful query. I doubt anyone has a workflow where they would have to do this exact query, but just to get an idea of how that tool is working. Each time I click that search button, it has generated one of those results layers, so it's good to remember that. But you can still flip back and forth in between those results layers. So my very first one was that filter by geography. I can show those again. It should populate. I believe my browser's just frozen. But we have just a few more minutes, so I'm not going to focus too much on my little technical difficulties. If you, again, want to spend more time in these tools, don't forget about our user guide from the homepage. Click the help link. And of course, remember where to get that email address.
Thanks, Katie.
And
as always,
yeah,
you've
we
done
got
a great job.
Thank you.
And there aren't any other questions that have come in yet, so if anybody wants to type one in real quick, they're welcome to do that. But Katie and I also talked before things got rolling today, and I believe we're going to start offering some in-person TIM training, but kind of on demand. So please look for some information in the LTAP listserv, hopefully here in the next week or so. We'll get that information out once we get everything all organized with Katie as to how she'd like for that to work. So we appreciate having everybody on the webinar today, and if the recording's successful, we'll get you a link to that. But I would definitely recommend dig in and start using TIMS. I had a project where we were going out to do a best practices case study on 7 different bridges, and I was asked, because our UAS team, one of our members from communications who has a drone pilot license was going to go with us and do filming. They said, well, can you get me the locations of these bridges so I can submit my flight plan? And I jumped right on TIMS, and it took me all of 5 minutes, and I got everything I needed. So it was fantastic.
That's great to hear, Victoria.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, all right, no other questions have come in, so we'll just wish everybody a great rest of their day, and thank you so much for your time, Katie.
Thank you, Victoria. Have a great day, everybody.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.